Okay, I think we're ready to get started. Welcome everybody to the July 2023 meeting of the Memphis Astronomical Society. Say hello to our Zoom audience again. Thanks everybody for taking the time to sign in tonight. Got a great program for you tonight. Got a good show. Got Peter VanWylen, one of our own, who's going to talk about the small solar system bodies and how you can contribute as an amateur astronomer. So it should be a very informative talk. So we'll get Peter up here in just a minute. But before we get started, again, we're the Memphis Astronomical Society. We're a nonprofit public service organization promoting interest in education in astronomy and related sciences. Learn more about us, go to our website, memphisastro.org. And if you're not already, you can join our email list by going to join.M.A.S.com or just going to our website and clicking the join button. When you click the join button, it brings up a separate form. And you just fill out your details there. And again, failed to mention this, but we have a YouTube channel also where you can see some of our past meetings as well as observing events and other things like that, just to learn more about our organization. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are interested in outreach services from the Memphis Astronomical Society, whether it's observing with telescopes or presentations or a combination, we got a link for that on our site also. Just go to contact and schedule talk-in or telescopes, fill out your details there. More information you can give us, the better we can assist you with whatever your requests are. So keep that in mind. Calendar of events. Hope everybody had a happy 4th of July. Hope everybody had a 4th of July since we had thunderstorms and a lot of the fireworks were canceled. But midsummer, mid-year, and it's hard to believe that 2023 is progressing pretty rapidly. But we do have a couple of events scheduled. Tomorrow night, we will cancel Burton Sugar Farm again. We haven't been there all year. Almost certain that will be a cancellation. So make sure you put that on your calendar. It's date night, you know, if you need to make up some brownie points with your significant other, you can tell her you're going observing, and then at the last minute, tell her that you changed your mind and you'd rather spend the evening with her, and that will score some serious points with her. So, honey, I missed you. I'm not going observing tonight. That's your opportunity tomorrow night. That's July 8th. The following Saturday, the 15th, we're going to try again at Burton's. We have an incredibly terrible forecast. So hope springs eternal, but so do the clouds and the rain. So 2023 has been an abysmally bad year for astronomy, but eventually the law of large numbers has to catch up. So we'll try again on the 15th. Now, the following Saturday, which is 2 weeks from today, we're planning to be at Hinton Park again in Collierville. And we've had a few wins this year, not many. But we were at Hinton Park this past June, the 24th, for our first ever, our annual, just our first telescope mentoring / observing session. And this is kind of in response to ongoing requests that we've had from people who are kind of requesting mentoring services from some of our veteran members. If you have a telescope and you need some help learning how to set up and use it. So we're planning to continue to do this on an ongoing basis. And we had a great turnout for last June 24. And again, we're planning to do it again. Hinton Park in Collierville, July 22, 2 weeks from today. So if you own a telescope and you would like some help from some of our veteran members, then this would be a great opportunity for you to come out. And again, you don't need to bring a telescope. We do observing after or during the event also. So some of our guys will bring out telescopes as well and show you the moon and some of the brighter planets, whatever's out. So Collierville is a convenient location for a lot of us. For me, it's only 5 minutes from my house. So that's kind of one of the reasons why we're there. But anyway, yeah, again, we're planning to continue this endeavor. So we don't just do it in January of each year. You know, our January program is typically setting up and using your new telescope. So we're going to kind of do this throughout the year. So plan to be out there if you'd like our assistance. And again, for those of you veterans, thank you for coming out. and offering your services on June 24. Please try to be available for July the 22nd also. Now, very important. Hinton Park has two entrances. So there's one off of Holmes Road, and then there's also one off of Fleming Road. So if you're heading east on Holmes Road in Collierville toward Byhalia, do not enter off of Holmes Road. There's a few people that did that last time and they couldn't find us. So the reason is because we're set up over by the soccer field. So if you're heading east on Holmes Road, take a left on Fleming and you'll see the entrance to the soccer field to your left. Also, if you're heading east on Shelby Drive, again in Collierville, past the Collierville Mall and past the hotel that I can't think of off the top of my head, turn right onto turn right off of Shelby Drive onto Fleming Road, and you'll see the entrance there. So, bottom line is, if you go to Peterson Point, you're in the wrong place. Now, Peterson Point is excellent if we have a good snowfall, because if you have kids with sleds, it can be a lot of fun. But that's not where we're going to be for this event. Go to the soccer field, and that's where we set up. So again, that will be July the 22nd, 2 weeks from today, telescope observing / mentoring Hinton Park in Collierville off of the Fleming Road entrance. So just want to make that point of clarity. So, and again, we'll send out notices about this as well. So thank you, everybody who came out a couple of weeks ago. All right, one more time. Fleming Road, not Peterson Point. You've been informed. If you email me and say that there was nobody there, we either canceled the event or you did not listen to my instructions. Okay. Want to welcome some of our new members. Again, I won't put anybody on the spot, but if you're here, whether you're virtually here or present in the room, just want to say welcome. Phyllis Boger. If I mispronounce your name, I apologize. It's not intentional. You can send me an email or a voicemail. I'll give you my cell phone. You can send me a nasty phone call if you want me to. Patrick Mitchell, welcome. Ted, you are here. You were at our last event too. Everybody say hi to Ted. Welcome. Cam Bates, welcome to the Memphis Astronomical Society. Ken Knuckles, hope I said your name correct.
You did.
Oh, Ken is here.
No, I just know him.
Okay, you know.
That's correct.
All right. Kevin Knuckles, welcome. And Brian Duke, welcome to the Memphis Astronomical Society, as well as Diane Spears. So everybody give a warm applause to our new member. Welcome to the Memphis Astronomical Society. Okay, and a reminder, if you're a member, you get access to our newsletter, The Meteorite, so check that out for this month. And we'll lie to you again and tell you we're going to send the Slack link, which we always forget to do, but we're going to try and remember to do that this time. Again, Slack is another resource that we use to try and foster engagement. So we'll send out a link. We got to remember to do this. So we'll send that out. Also, somebody just handed me this. The M.A.S group, which is our astrophotography group, has probably going to say this incorrectly, but Astrospheric is a weather app. And you can use that to kind of figure out whether the skies are going to be clear, cloudy, or whether the observing events are favorable. So they have subscribed to an enhanced weather package, and it costs what, $38 a month? Is that right?
We get it free.
You get it free. So if you are a member of the MASFITs,
Memphis Astronomical Society.
Right. By extension, if you're a member of the Memphis Astronomical Society, you get this resource for free. So this is an enhanced version of Astrospheric.
So they're paying $38 a month. I can have that for $25 a year.
There you go. This is what we call value stacking, right? Your membership is only $25 a year. One of the benefits of membership is you get access to this, which costs $38 a month. So in less than a month, your membership already pays for itself. So there's no excuses, okay? if you're watching this, we're not only incredibly cool, but for the cost of 20, you can't even get a Big Mac today because of inflation for 25 bucks a month. Where can you go and get a decent meal for $25? It just isn't possible. So there's no excuses. And then you get this, as well as all the other added benefits of being a part of our society. So if you're a visitor and you'd like to sign up and be an official member, see Merrill Miller. Yeah.
Quick question. What do you go on the website to pay your dues? Because I'm
The man right in front of you.
Give me your email address.
okay.
You'll get an invoice.
Okay.
Okay, that's Merrill Mill. Put your hand up, Merrill. So Merrill's the guy you want to see. So he'll take care of your membership dues. Yeah. If you're confused about where to pay your dues, email me or contact me, and I'll put you in touch with Merrill, and we'll take
Recently, today.
Can we please mute the sound? Mute everybody here, so I never know what you're gonna hear.
Welcome to the cloud.
How do we get the link for the atmosphere?
You got it on TV? Yeah.
All right, one second. This is what we call a water. Okay. Anyway, Astrospheric. If you would like, if you'd like to sign up for this and get access to this benefit, then email us and we can. Well, actually, we'll provide the code on Slack. Is that what we're going to do?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Put the code on our
You
Slack.
can request it from the website as well, and we'll approve it.
All right.
The Slack channel for the M.A.S. is only for members.
Right.
The general Slack channel, we'll just make it available to everybody.
That's just for members, though. Only.
The M.A.S., the M.A.S. is only for members.
Got it.
And the rest of it,
So you need to go to the M.A.S. or to the M.A.S. Slack channel, and then we'll have the code available.
unless you're a member.
If
They
you're
can just send,
right,
they can
exactly.
send you an email.
We can email me.
And you'll forward it to one of us.
We'll get you-
Take
we'll get
care
you
of it.
All right. Email one of us, we'll get you the code if you want. All right. It's not going to do you any good for the next 2 weeks. Let me just put it that way. All you're going to see is gray.
Can you put the code in the next?
You're going to see this, gray and white, and it's going to put you in a bad mood. So wait about a month before we get more favorable
It's a
skies.
lot easier to cut and paste the code because it's really long.
This is really not that long.
Is it a long code?
Yeah, and we have to give you some instructions on how to do it, but we can do that.
We'll find a way. We can figure this out. We will get you the code.
I'll get it.
All right. The bottom line, though, is it's $38 a month, and membership is only $25 a year, so that's value. Okay, this also is value. So, Cafe Press. This is a resource where you can get M.A.S. swag. There's a lot of different things here. Here's the link, cafepress.com/Memphis Astronomical Society. You can go there, and you can order T-shirts, ball caps, logos, coffee mugs, and of course my favorite are the golf balls. So put your logo on there, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing because you can lose them and you take out your frustration on a golf ball. But anyway, any type of M.A.S. swag that you want, you can order from Cafe Press. Year to date, $201 in total sales. So some of you are wearing M.A.S. shirts, T-shirts. So whether some of us, like one or two. But anyway, we have this resource available also. Cafepress.com, Memphis Astronomical Society. So it's another place where you can go to get M.A.S. swag. Anything else we need to say about that? Got it. All right. Okay. Also reminder that the MASFITS is our is our astrophotography focus group. Next meeting will be July 20, correct?
You know, it's on Wednesday, but
Right.
consider it to be on Thursday.
So this is going to be on a Thursday. Normally it's a Wednesday night, but this is going to be Thursday, July 20. So, and we'll send out an email for the Zoom link to the members.
Did 2 days ago, and then
Okay. We already sent an email notice out. We'll send another one out soon.
On the website.
So, and it's on the website. Okay, excellent. And of course, videos of our past meetings are on YouTube as well. So if you missed the June meeting, very good meeting, by the way. This group has got some very good content. We had Sebastian with Telescopius gave a very interesting presentation. So check that out. If you can jump in anytime, but the bottom line is if you're interested in astrophotography, you'd like to learn more, doesn't matter what level you're at, whether you're just getting started or you're more advanced, you know, it's like a moving train. Just jump on and start hanging out with these guys, and then you pick up a lot of valuable information. So that'll be July 20, a Thursday. That's the next MASFITS group meeting, 7:00 p.m. All right, had a good time speaking to, of all places, the Memphis Geologic and Archaeological Society and on the total solar eclipse. It's a really good group, actually. So, and many of them had seen the previous total solar eclipse and came up afterwards and shared their pictures and video and some other things. So, you know, I kind of began the presentation with, you guys are probably used to looking down, but I'm gonna ask you to look up. So, but anyway, it was a really good talk, and had a really good time with this particular group this past month. And speaking of solar eclipses, if you're here tonight, we have solar eclipse glasses. So there were some out front, and I got a couple other stacks here as well. So we got an annular coming up in the fall. And then we also got a total. The big one, of course, is April 8 next year. So now's the time to start planning. And we'll just say 5 per person to start off with tonight. If you need more, you have to come back next month. So there's a special term for that. It's called bribery. You come out here, you're present, you get solar eclipse glasses. But anyway, we got quite a few of them. So make sure if you need eclipse glasses and you're here tonight, get what you need. All right, another event I want to make you guys aware of, if you're planning ahead for star parties. Arkansas does a dark sky festival every year. This is their 2nd annual dark sky festival. They did one last year. They're doing it again this year in September, 14, 15, and 16. It's going to be 3 days at the Bear Creek, south of the Buffalo National River, off of US Highway 65. And it's kind of it's an event. You know, it's an observing / star party, but it's also an event for essentially spreading the awareness of light pollution and celebrating dark skies. So this event is coming up. There's the link right there if you'd like to learn more information about it, or you can just do a Google search for Arkansas Dark Sky Festival. I also have a pamphlet here that kind of it's a preliminary draft of a pamphlet that gives all the information on the event coming up. So if you'd like to look through this, you can. If you'd like a copy of this, I can email it to you.
Just so nobody gets confused, that's the Buffalo River, but there is a Bear Creek over by there in Arkansas.
Okay,
I don't think it's that.
right, okay.
Right. So the Bear Creek is by the Buffalo National River. That's where this one is located. And they give you specific directions, not the one over by Marion, Arkansas.
And just so you know, to achieve International Dark Sky Park rating from the International Dark Sky Association is pretty strict. It means it's really good dark skies there. So there's only one park in Tennessee that has that rating. So be a nice place to go.
Yeah.
Telescope.
Yeah, exactly. I'm planning to go take my 20-inch. Last year I was sick, so hopefully I'm healthy this year. But if you're planning ahead, I don't think registration is opened yet. I checked their website this morning, but it will be opening up soon. I don't think there's a cost. Somebody double check me on that. But September can be a nice month. It can be hot, it can be cool, it can be about anything. But this is a pretty cool event. There should be a good turnout. So again, September 14, 15, and 16. And there's a bit.ly link right there if you'd like to learn more information. Try to link it to this video when we post it as well. But if you're planning ahead, it's a couple months away yet. But that's the Arkansas Dark Sky Festival. So again, I plan to be there. I think VanWylen's going to be there, and yeah, we get M.A.S. is listed as an official sponsor / contributor. So yeah, get a few people out, that'd be great. Okay, next month we're going to be Zoom only. Speaking of solar eclipses, I met her briefly at the Texas Star Party, but I've been spying on via YouTube for a little while. This is Debbie Moran. She's seen over 15 total solar eclipses over the last 4 decades on 7 continents. So she has quite a few stories to tell, as well as 5 annular eclipses. She's also an advocate for dark skies in Houston, Texas, IDA, International Dark Sky Association. So mark your calendars. That will be August 4, 2023. Again, we won't be meeting here at Rhodes. This will be a Zoom-only presentation. But this should be a very informative talk, especially if you're planning for the upcoming annular eclipse, October 14, and then, of course, next year's total solar eclipse. So that'll be our next meeting. And with that, I will go ahead and introduce our speaker tonight. And he's our very own Peter VanWylen. Everybody give Peter a hand. I got to get Peter mic'd up here. Restrooms are down the hall and to the right. We're not going to take a break. We're just going to jump right in here and get into the presentation. But if you need to leave, they're all the way down the hall and to the left. And as far as questions, save them to the end. How do you do it?
Either way, actually. Yeah, but there'll be time at the end, but there's also a chance for you to ask questions in the middle of the meeting.
Okay, excellent. Let me get you mic'd up here a minute.
All right.
Put that over there. Make sure that's that right there.
There we go.
Make sure this is turned on. Record. And you should be good to go.
Okay. Thank you all. Jeremy, it's fun to be here. And let me see if I can get my PowerPoint up. And there we go. Whoop, whoop. And I think I might need to.
Get to the same way it's recorded, and you'll have to share.
Yeah, I'll share the.
Share
There we go.
presentation
All right,
screen,
great.
the whole thing.
Perfect. Can you all see it online? Okay, great.
This advances the slides. Here's your laser.
All right, perfect. It is fun to be here. I'm actually going to hide this so you can see the whole thing. There we go. So, again, my name is Peter VanWylen. I decided to go ahead and start with I do use artificial intelligence and machine learning with my job and also with my astronomy. So I decided to let the AI have a go at painting the top. So I said, paint a picture of me working on an asteroid. And it took it a little bit too literally, but this is actually an AI generated image. That's Jupiter in the background, which actually makes sense because Jupiter is the most important part of the asteroid belt in terms of its influence on its evolution. So I didn't paint this, but AI did, and I was quite impressed. So our agenda today is I'll talk just a little bit about my background and how I got into asteroids and asteroid research. Then we'll do some minor planet basics, cover near-Earth objects. I generally find that people find those pretty fascinating. In fact, most people think those are the only asteroids that exist, and because they've heard that it killed the dinosaurs and all. But then I'll talk. The second half of our time is going to be on my work in the area, kind of what I'm getting to work on, the projects that I've started working on, and also just a general framework for thinking about how you could get involved in citizen science. That is, as an amateur astronomer, how you can be contributing. Even if you don't even call yourself an amateur astronomer, if you know how to use a computer, you can be contributing. All right. So my background is I got my first telescope when I was, I don't know, somewhere like 10, 12, 13, 15, somewhere like that. Thanks, Mom and Dad. I know you are watching, and they bought me this. I loved it. 6-inch telescope. They also, at the same time, got me a subscription to Sky and Telescope. And pretty early on, I saw this article about amateurs finding asteroids that had never been seen before and getting credit for it using 6-inch telescopes in their backyard with a CCD. So I asked for a CCD. I don't think I ever got it in focus. I'm embarrassed to say that I didn't have the mentoring. Like I didn't have somebody like, I know there's this whole M.A.S. group here that probably could have helped me, but I didn't know of a group in my hometown. We worked really hard to get that CCD to work, and either it was defective or I never got it in the focal plane. And so I gave up on the asteroid dream until a year and a half ago. But anyways, I was a math major. I taught math and science, so please ask questions. It kind of is my gauge of success. And where I ended up getting really into this is Christmas break 18 months ago. I said, I'm going to find an asteroid again. You know, don't let the childhood dream die. And then all of a sudden, I got on this journey. My family's also in the back, and they are so much fun, and they love science and space as much as I do. I kind of can't believe it. This is us on a recent trip to Huntsville. So you'll see my boys and my wife in the back, and we'll be at observing events in the near future. So to start off, though, I want to ask you, and I need a volunteer, what do people think about, the general public, or even you, what do you think about when you hear the word asteroid?
The world is coming in.
Yes, okay. Hollywood helps with that, doesn't it? You know, what else do you hear people saying when you say the word asteroid?
Rocks.
Rocks? Yeah, it's basically a rock in space, okay. Turns out that most adults and most 4 or 5-year-olds have the exact same view of asteroids. I talked at my son Austin's class recently because they were doing a space unit. And I said the word asteroid, every kid hand raised. They knew what an asteroid was. And the two things they knew was it killed the dinosaurs and there might be another one coming. So that's what most of us think about, but asteroids are actually a whole lot more than that. I need a volunteer to tell me what's wrong with this picture of the solar system. There's about 10 things, but give me one.
Asteroids are too close together.
Okay, asteroids are too close together. That's good. Isaac, what else is bad?
Planets have stars have faces.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's not real, is it? What were you gonna say?
I'm sorry, I thought they were more or less on the same orbit as Jupiter, front and behind.
Yeah, so that's the Trojans. We'll get to them in just a second. So you're thinking of these guys. So the asteroid belt is in between Mars and Jupiter, and then the Greeks and the Trojans are on the same orbit as Jupiter. So yeah, you're right there. But essentially, the biggest problem I have here is the scale issue. So if you haven't been on the University of Memphis campus, it is the coolest thing, the scale model of the solar system. But I think a lot of people actually view the solar system like this because it might have been in their elementary school textbook like that. And also, this asteroid belt is way too structured and pretty. Like, it doesn't look like that in real life. This is the other misconception. What's the misconception here? I call it the Star Wars misconception. Okay. They're way too close together. So, Hollywood loves to say the asteroid belt is about dodging these things to try to make it through. It's not like that in real life. And to give you a picture of that, I have a quiz. So, how heavy is the asteroid belt? If you could grab all those little rocks, put them on a scale, how heavy, or really actually how much mass, does the entire asteroid belt have? So tell a neighbor what you think, and then I'm going to reveal the answer. I hear a C. Anybody else? D. All right, D. Okay, very good. The asteroid belt, I would have gotten this wrong a month ago. So if you got it wrong, I did not know the answer myself just a month ago. I was trying to get a sense of like how much stuff is there. And it's just 3 to 4% of the mass of our moon. And I think that speaks mostly to how big our moon is. It's really actually very large. But it also speaks to most of the asteroid belt has gotten flung out. And where it had a lot of mass in the past, most of it has gotten perturbed away. The other interesting thing is that if you take the mass of the entire asteroid belt, fully a third of it is in just one object, which is the first asteroid we found, Ceres, and it is now classified as a dwarf planet because it's so big and round. And but think of the asteroid belt as fuzzy like this. It is not, it's not like the belt around my waist. It's fuzzy, and basically any one of these objects could be on a rather elliptical orbit, and it only looks like a belt. Pretty like that when you look at all of them together, but any given one could be on a very different orbit. And so this one right here, this white dot right here, could be in here, you know, in 10 months. Okay, they together form a belt, but there's a wide diversity of orbits among them.
Was that just an illustration?
No, this is it.
That's based on data?
This is based on data. Yeah. And so it's a sample. I don't know if they the person who made this I believe it's reputable, but the person who made this, I believe that they took a sample and maybe set a size threshold. I don't know what the size threshold is, but you can see these green ones in here are the near-Earth asteroids. You've got the Greeks and the Trojans that somehow figured out how to survive out by Jupiter's orbit because they found these magic spots where they won't get perturbed away. But by and large, most of the 1.3 million objects that we know about are in the asteroid belt.
1.3
Yes, 1.3 million.
million.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Did that include the ones out on Jupiter, the Trojans, or not?
That includes Trojans, trans-Newtonian objects,
Okay,
the asteroid belt, all of the small bodies that we know about. Yeah, so fairly large list of different kinds of objects that we're thinking about here. And it took me forever to learn this, so I decided to, you know, simplify it just a little bit. For a long time, asteroid and minor planet were more or less synonymous, and then we've gotten into as telescopes started finding more and more objects way out there. It turns out that asteroid is now used mostly for the close-in ones, Jupiter and closer, and then you've got the Kuiper belt, which is further out. And the most interesting thing to me about this is planets have the mass to clear their neighborhood, but does anyone know what happened to Pluto? Somebody raise their hand and tell me what happened to Pluto.
It wasn't big enough, so they considered it as a dwarf planet.
Okay, there you go. That's right. And so essentially, Pluto got demoted, and the main reason it got demoted was that it couldn't clear its neighborhood. And essentially, when all we knew about was the asteroids, Pluto looked more like a planet, didn't it? And then you find all these Kuiper belt objects way out there, and Pluto actually looks just like the first member of the Kuiper belt. And I put this up here because it took me forever to learn them. And I'm still learning, but just kind of asteroid basics. As you see those terms, now you know what they mean.
Pluto's always a planet to me.
Yeah, you know what?
I grew up with it, it's a planet.
It's a planet. In fact, if you talk to geologists, they would like it to still be a planet because in terms of a planet, its gravity is sufficient to melt it until it's a sphere, and that's what they would say makes it a planet. And in the end, the dynamicists won.
I met Tomball at the AL convention.
Oh,
St. Louis.
Oh, yes.
Not too long before that.
Yeah, you told me. I think you told me that about that. So very. It's an interesting case of why we decided to move it, and it was because that we decided orbits and clearing your orbit is the key determiner as opposed to just being large and spherical. I like this just because you probably already know that everything in space follows the same rule, which is ellipsoidal orbits. Okay, so asteroids are just like a planet. They, you know, in a sense, they're just falling through space in the exact same way. But most of the planets are on approximately circular orbits like this red one right here. And you'll see there's a decent number of asteroids that are on a much more elliptical orbit, like this purple one. Follow the purple one. It's super fun to see how fast it gets going. All 5 of these particles orbiting the sun have the same orbital period, but you know they do different things, whether it's a circle or whether it's an ellipse. Okay, and I just lied to you. They don't always follow elliptical orbits, just like planets. They usually follow elliptical orbits unless they get upset. So I'm going to have you watch something. I put this little video together, and this is an asteroid. Well, it's an asteroid that is now a comet. So follow the white one with your eyes as we follow it orbiting around the sun. Mostly ignore the inner solar system. We're not looking at that. And here's Jupiter. So I want you to follow just for a second 2022 BV9 and Jupiter. And you'll see that at first, it has this beautiful, perfectly repeating elliptical orbit. And it'll just keep on doing that forever, right? Unless it gets a little bit too close to Jupiter. Second encounter, third encounter, one more fourth encounter. And what has happened to that asteroid's orbit? Well, that asteroid became a comet. So essentially, you think about an orbit as always following the same pattern over and over again until it gets a little bit too close. NASA would call it a gravity assist because for them it'd be intentional. But with asteroids, it's just an accidental encounter. And what's fun about this one is I didn't discover this rock in space, but I'm responsible for the P in front of it. So I was digging in the asteroid database, and I found a few hints that it wasn't like the others, and got some people to point telescopes at it, and we found a little tail on it. So and essentially what's going on with that is the old orbit kept it far enough away from the sun most of the time. What do you see about this new perihelion right here? It's a lot closer in. So one of my little projects that I'm working on right now is I have a machine learning algorithm that tries to find similar cases in the asteroid database where there's a few little hints that I've picked up on that tell you that an asteroid might actually be exhibiting a tail or a coma. And typically, it's when we can't quite fit all the observations with a low residual. And that probably means that some people are including the tail in their astrometry and some people aren't, and nobody really realized there was a tail. But if there's a tail, the photo center is different depending on the scale. And so the people with a really high resolution are going to get it right on the nucleus, and people with a lower resolution on their sensor are actually going to get it biased just a little bit to the left right here, and then you can't get all the observations to fit. So between having a cometary-like orbit and having some higher than usual residuals, I've got a few more that I'm suspecting. But anyways, that's just one last thing about asteroid orbits. Questions about asteroid basics? We're going to move on to a few space missions, but now you know your basics. Okay. I'm not going to talk about all three of these missions, but if nothing else, I want to whet your appetite to learn about some asteroid missions. We all know about all the big planetary visitors. I know they get a lot more attention. There's one going to Jupiter right now and Jupiter's icy moons. But 3 asteroid missions for you to go home and Google is DART, so the Double Asteroid Redirection Test. How many of you have seen the video? Okay, we got a lot of people have seen that. Okay, super fun mission. And I was looking forward to it for many months, and it just turned out perfectly. Basically, the mission was to see if we could change the orbit of a smaller asteroid in a double asteroid pair by slamming a spacecraft into it at a pretty light spacecraft, right? Compared to this thing is not shown to scale. Okay, this thing is actually relatively light compared to the mass of the asteroid it slammed into. But because it's moving fast, it has a fair bit of momentum to transfer in there, and it was very successful. Also, if you're just looking for science news you need to keep your eyes on, we have an asteroid sample return mission coming in just 2 months. So that's super exciting. OSIRIS-REx got a little sample from the Bennu asteroid, and it's coming in September. And this one is on its way to the Jupiter Trojans that were all those green dots in the picture I showed you a little bit ago. If you haven't seen this is worth watching. So this is the telescopic camera's view as NASA crashed their first spacecraft intentionally. They've crashed some others accidentally, but their first intentional crash into a solar system object?
Actually, that's not true.
Oh, you're right. That's true.
They crashed the
I was thinking the same thing.
the
After I
orbiter
said
into the moon
that's right.
to see if there was water in the little southern crater. What was the name of that?
Shackleton.
I forgot.
Yeah, so it's their first intentional crash with the intention of modifying an orbit.
Well, and the camera.
And the camera's just
Camera.
beautiful. Yeah. And so I'll show you that one more time. But essentially, so what's magical about this is that the spacecraft could not see either one of these until 2 hours before it hit. So they had to get its orbit really, really spot on. And then at the 2 hour mark, it started seeing it with its camera, and it was able to tell if it was on track and needed to autonomously aim itself. And it was a direct hit. I mean, it's just, it's almost as cool as a moon mission in my opinion. And this kind of an asteroid is called a rubble pile. Can you think? It's not too surprising why it's called a rubble pile when you see that at the end there. And I'll just show you just a few. There we go. Just a few different pictures of what the surface of different asteroids looks like. The one you just saw from DART is a rubble pile, and that just means shards from all those early collisions in the early solar system come together, and it's just, I mean, I love this picture. It's just so interesting to think about shards from the early solar system just kind of coming together. It's usually pretty low density when you get a rubble pile like that. Then you've got, something that's circular, looks almost like Earth's moon in Ceres, and others. This one is among the more dense asteroids that we visited, and it has another kind of just a very different look to it. Who wants to talk about near Earth objects? All right. They're interesting, and the thing that I'm learning about them is that the funding for near Earth objects has gone up by 25 times in 15 years. And so it's kind of a super fun time to be studying asteroids at all, because the funding's going through the roof for near Earth asteroids. And what that means is that all the science then is getting more money thrown at it. So these are some pretty cool pictures of the most threatening recent asteroid that was potentially on an Earth impact course, and they used the Goldstone radar to get really accurate measurements and prove more or less entirely rule out a possible 2036 impact. So in terms of near Earth objects, we have almost found, I think it's 95% of the planet killers are found, and we're not really worried about that. I was thinking back, I was trying to place some Hollywood movies. Do you know when Armageddon came out? Okay, 1998, all right? And it all of a sudden clicked to me like, oh, it was like timely because we were finding big ones on a regular basis in 1998. So these kilometer-sized objects, most of those were found, and we were actively working really hard to find them in the early 2000s. And now we find like 1 to 4 a year. So almost all of those are found, but we are not even close to finding all of the near-Earth objects, especially the little ones. So there's still a fair bit of work being done there, and almost all of the funding that's finding asteroids is coming because of the threat. And so there's really cool science happening because there is some danger. And so it's a cool thing that science gets funding because politicians realize that there's danger, and so they up the budget. Speaking of asteroids hitting Earth, the typical lead time for an asteroid impact throughout history, 10 seconds, 200 seconds, not much, okay? And that is changing. So this is what it looks like when a 1 meter object comes through the atmosphere. And so we now have 7 pre-impact discoveries, which means rock seen in space, trajectory figured out, we know where it's going to hit, and then it indeed hits approximately where we guessed it would be. And this is 2022 WJ1 right here. And just a gorgeous photo from one of the more active researchers in the field. it flew right over his house. It is the coolest thing. It wasn't his telescope that found it. It was another telescope that found it. And then there's an active community. And I don't know if he was asleep or awake, but somehow they told him it was coming. He got out there with his time and with his, I assume, camera, DSLR, I don't know, and got a really cool time lapse of it coming through. And I just love the photo. We're going to have a lot more of these real soon because there's a new observatory coming online called the Rubin Observatory. I don't know if you've read about the Rubin Observatory. Its old name was the LSST, but it is going to be the biggest survey telescope out there. Now, there's like a 30-meter telescope, I think, being constructed. There's lots of, 10-meter telescopes, 8-meter telescopes out there. Unfortunately, the asteroid guys do not have access to those unless there's a good reason for it. And so most of the surveys are like 1.8-meter telescopes. And that's a lot bigger than mine. But the Rubin Observatory is going to be the largest by far, but like more than doubling the aperture of any current survey telescope. And so I think that we will be finding these small 1 to 4 meter chunks both earlier and more like several times a year, maybe even, 3, 5, 6 times a year. So I think you can plan on eclipse parties. It's like an eclipse party. You just find out 2 to 4 days ahead of time and you buy that flight and go get that photo. Okay. So I'm very excited about that coming to pass because I will be there. If it's only 4 meters, if it's 10, I might stay away. We'll see. If it's 100 meters, I'm running. This is another super fun one. I guess you can't see the top here, but this is one that was found in 2023. This is the most recent one to come through. It came down in France. We knew it was coming. So all sorts of people set up their cameras, got these beautiful images like that. And then you can tell these people really enjoyed their several-day hunt. And that is one of the chunks that they found. The true trifecta is to be the discoverer with a telescope, and then to capture it coming through with your own camera, and then to find a chunk. If you pull that off, you've really done it. Then you got it. And these are happening all the time. It's just that we've only really known it was happening ahead of its impact 7 times. But smallish objects come all the time, and this is a map of smallish objects. There's another map that is even more sensitive that uses the GOES weather satellites. They realized that the lightning trackers on the weather satellites also pick these up pretty well. And so now there's another map that's got a lot more dots on it than this. The big one that this has is Chelyabinsk. You may have heard of that one, and I'll show you a little picture of that. So in 2013, I'm guessing a lot of you saw this in the news when it happened. A pretty big object, relatively speaking, came through the atmosphere. And this is in Chelyabinsk, Russia. And this is the sort of thing that will happen about once or twice in a lifetime. This was an 18-meter object, and it should come with a frequency of about 50 or every 50 or 60 years that you get something like this. 18 meters.
18 meters
diameter. And so where, 1 to 4 meters is beautiful and kind of a party, 18 meters is a problem, a serious problem. I don't believe anyone died from it because, this didn't actually hit Earth directly. It did an airburst, which just means you can kind of see this is the airburst. And here it's like, re-entry of the space shuttle. And then this is, disintegration. And that caused a pretty large and loud explosion. And the typical injury was glass shards to the face because people catch a glimpse of this out the window. What do you do when you see something you don't understand out the window? You get as close to the window as you can and stare at it. And then a few, I don't know, depending on how far away you are from the airburst, a certain number of seconds after that bright flash, the shock wave comes, breaks windows all over the city. It did a huge amount of property damage and a decent number of people in the hospital with shards of glass in their face. So now you know what to do when you see this out the window. still watch it, but walk as far away as you can from the window before you keep staring at
See
it.
it streaking across the sky,
Yeah.
you don't have much to worry about. It's when it's just getting bigger.
That's that one. Yes. Yep.
I'm not sure I'd even bother running at that point.
Exactly. So this is the sort of thing that it would really be nice to be able to know about these ones. About it's sort of like a hurricane warning, right? Like board up the windows. This is not going to cause an extinction or cataclysm, but the reason we're working really hard to find the rest of the 18-meter ones is because if you know this is coming, you can board up the windows. You can tell people, public service announcement, don't stand by the window when it comes.
I thought a lot of people were thinking, not another Tunguska.
Absolutely. And then the last really more impactful one is the Tunguska event. It's all hiding behind my behind this Zoom screen, but this was Tunguska in 1908. And this would be a 50 or 60 meter object, something that comes only every 500 or 1,000 years. And this is kind of the most probable sort of a thing to actually worry about, because it would be very infrequent that a 150 meter object or a 1 kilometer object comes. And so this is the sort of thing that's like plausible in your lifetime, unlikely in your lifetime, that the planetary defense community is actually working on. And they have a super cool website where they're keeping track of all this. And the last thing I'll tell you is that communication is very well planned. So if you see something on social media and you aren't hearing it from multiple global governments, it's probably somebody who doesn't know what the numbers mean. And so on about a month, every 2 or 3 months, a new object will end up at the very top of this risk list. And I'll tell you, it's it's kind of fun to watch. All the people in planetary defense do watch it. And 99 times out of 100, about a week later, it falls off the list entirely. Because this is, a risk list of objects we need to keep track of. And as soon as something pops to the top of the list, it gets a ton of telescope time. The telescope time turns into observations. The observations help us pin down the trajectory in the orbit. And pretty soon the uncertainty zone excludes Earth and it gets removed from the list. But it's pretty cool, and there's an unbelievable number of exceptionally smart people working on it, and it's fun to watch what they do as an amateur astronomer. So I'll talk just for a second about my work in minor planets, and then I'm going to help you dream about your work in contributing to science as an amateur astronomer, or potentially also even in minor planets like I'm doing. I tell people that this is, my real telescope, because I use this way more than my 5-inch Max Sitov Cassegrain. This is a pair of 1.8 meter telescopes in Hawaii called the Pan-STARRS telescopes, and I use their archives, and it's kind of amazing how far 1.8 meters can see in just a 45-second exposure. And in a second, I'll show you some of the images off of that that I've pulled archival observations off. But first, I'm going to tell you, no matter where you get involved in this, whether it's archives or identifications or database analysis or near-Earth observations, actually getting your own observations with your telescope and your sensor, that's my reminder that I need to move on. It works. So this is forgot one. This is the observation format, and the observation format is just how you communicate your observations to the Minor Planet Center. If you send them an image, they'll say, that's pretty. We have no use for it, okay? All they care about is what, when, where, and how bright. And that's all you ever send to them, because that's all they care about. It doesn't matter how pretty it is. It doesn't matter, that it's right next to Jupiter and it made a great pairing, okay? All they want from you is what, when, so 2010, February 13, about halfway through the day, universal time, a right ascension and a declination, which if you're new to astronomy is just the latitude and longitude in the sky, and then a magnitude, in this case, 22. And these are all archival submissions that I've made as I worked on recovering objects and improving their orbits. So if you get into this, you will see a lot of this, but really what you're supposed to take away from it right now is all they want is what, where, when, and how bright. And actually, you can even skip the what. If you don't know what it is, it might be a new object. Just, put a 7-digit or 7-letter string in there, and they'll figure out what it is or give it a new designation if that is warranted. But this is this kind of thing that I would send, maybe once a week, a little batch of observations that help with orbits for some objects. Here's one that I did not too long ago in 2022. So you see that object? All right, watch it move. All right. That's what an asteroid looks like. Okay, these two are 18 minutes apart, usually is the cadence that the Pan-STARRS survey uses. And the reason I did this is I enjoy improving orbits. And so this is an object that was seen from over about a 4-month period in 2011. It was discovered in Spain, and there it sat. No more observations for 11 years. No clarification, no updated orbit, nothing. And it's just a regular old minor main belter. There's nothing special about it, but I do enjoy finding lost asteroids. Okay, and so I looked in the archives and I found it in 2013, and submitted 2 nights of a position, and then the next night position. And what's sort of fun about that is that within a month, other people that are exceptionally good at matching unmatched observations added 35 additional nights, and now we know where that object will be within an arc second for 5,000 years. So essentially, just adding 2 nights of observations that were strategically chosen to be worthwhile, and now there's another object that is ready to get a permanent numbering, and that's what I get to play with. If you think your sensor is awesome, 1.4 gigapixels is even more awesome. So a survey instrument, its main goal is to get as much sky as possible and as good a resolution as you can, because if you're trying to get positions of moving objects, you want a good resolution. So this has a 3-degree field of view and a 1/4 arc second resolution. So
I get where you get right sensor declination from image data, but how do you calculate magnitude?
So you use a reduction software package that basically, the old days, what you do is you'd say, well, I know this is, I know that this one is a 20, so I guess that's a 21,
Right.
But you use software that does the reduction for you, and it looks at all the stars in a field. It looks at what, sort of the photon counts for them, because you're using raw images. You cannot do photometry from a JPEG,
Right.
because it's already had all that information removed.
Right.
To do photometry, you need the raw image where the pixel values are more or less linear related to the photon counts, and then the software will reduce it and get a right ascension and declination as well as a decent magnitude on it.
Cool.
Yeah.
When does that sensor go on sale with Amazon?
They might upgrade it in a year or two. You never know. There's still a lot of money flowing into asteroid surveys, so it might be on eBay. That's where you're going to find it. Okay. The thing that I've spent the most amount of my time on lately is identifications, and this is kind of nerdy. It's very hard to learn. I don't know how I ever got into it. It was mostly an accident. But an identification is whenever someone identifies that 2 separate designations are actually the same object. So I'll show you what that looks like. This is 2019 KF72. You see it? All right. Now we're looking at 2020 RN44. I really can't even see it anymore. Okay. They're very similar. And if you look at the shape of their orbits, it's very similar. And I've stumbled on one of these, I don't know, 6 months ago or something. And I said, that was fun. And then I went hunting for some more, and I found 10. And then I figured that if I could give a machine learning algorithm 11 examples of what a match looks like, and 200 non-examples, maybe it would learn. And it slowly learned, and it gave me another 20. And now I had 41 examples to feed the machine learning algorithm. And it just got smarter and smarter the more I found. So it was sort of a virtuous cycle of, I stumbled on one, I hunted for 10, and I let some machine learning algorithms that I was able to get working sort of learn what the pattern is that makes these happen. And the other fun thing is there's 3 of us in the world that do a lot of these, and I know them. they're my people. So it's 2 amateurs. I'm one of them, and then a professional. And I correspond with the other 2. And it's kind of this sort of niche thing, mostly because you can't publish a paper on it. So there's not a huge incentive for a professional to make their career on identifications. Each of our algorithms finds things that the others miss. And super fun thing this week, the other amateur is a guy in Germany, and we partnered up, and I knew that his algorithm was really good at analyzing the isolated tracklet file, and mine is better at taking 2 orbits and identifying that they're the same. So we hooked them up this week, and now it's finding heaps more, and it's been a fun week for the 2 of us. And it's a team sport, because if any one person tries to do it, the database would be 100 objects. And so the only way that you get to 1.3 million is everyone shares their data and everyone is trying to collaborate and do the best.
Is this all cloud computing, or are you doing these on your own computer?
Right now, I haven't scaled it to the cloud, but I have a decent computer that will crunch through, depending on the depth of fringe cases that I want to consider. I can have it run for an hour or 2 days.
Where are you getting your data from?
So Modern Planet Center. Well, actually, so for these, this I'm not actually looking at image data. This I'm just looking at orbits.
Orbital position data. Right.
Yep, and so an orbit is always defined by 6 numbers. There's a couple different ways to think about it. You can use these 6 numbers or these 6 numbers, but it's always 6. And I've trained the computer to be able to find 2 pairs of 6 that are similar enough that they warrant closer inspection. And then there's another element of the software that finds out if they're close or if they're spot on. Yeah, so it's really fun. And I wouldn't have told you 18 months ago that I'd be one of the 3 people in the world that's doing this, but I stumbled on it, and I'm a data guy and I'm a technology guy, and it kind of played into what I'm already good at. And that's the takeaway, is that not that you're supposed to join me in this sport, but that you think about what you love doing and what you're good at and what your unique skills are. And it might be that all of a sudden you're going to stumble your way into a niche that you're one of 3 people in the world that knows how to do X. Okay. And the professionals might be too busy for that sort of thing, and they're going to love that you want to do it. Okay. 3 more things that I found, and then we're going to talk about ways that you can get involved. Speaking of the orbit database, I found that a superlative is always interesting. Okay, that's why people like the Guinness Book of World Records. And so all 3 of these I found in the orbit database by just asking, what is the brightest object that has only been seen for 1 opposition? And the answer there was this one, okay? And, well, how on earth does a really bright asteroid only get seen for, say, 5 or 6 months in 1 year? It should be seen, back a decade and a half, and, it should be visible even now. And it had only been seen for that short while. So I went and I tried to find it a few years later. It wasn't there. I went and tried to find it a few years earlier. It wasn't there in the archives. And then I put another amateur astronomer contact that I have on it, and he's better at archives than I am. And he found one lonely image that had, what do you see here? A little tiny tail, okay? And so it's an asteroid. It's on an asteroidal orbit, not a cometary orbit. But it has a little tail, and it actually has maybe, a gas tail and a dust tail, if you look at it. And we believe it
Sublimated.
probably something catastrophic happened to it. because a few years later, he found this image. And it's supposed to be right here, and it's not there. You see, it should be real bright right there, but it's not there. Do you see a little something going along here?
Yeah.
That is the asteroid, we think. And so he did a lot more work on this project than I did. I just kind of put him onto that. This was an interesting object that used to be. And then he worked with a professional astronomer at the Planetary Science Institute, and they wrote a pretty interesting paper on it. This is the comet that I helped find a little bit ago. And then also currently, if anyone has their astroimaging set up at home and they want to help me, we have another likely / possible active asteroid that's visible right now. And essentially, it was found in May, and it's never been seen before May, and it's so bright that and we know what its orbit is, it's so bright that it should be visible 365 days a year, back forever. It never got close to Jupiter. Nothing happened to it. We don't know. It's just suddenly something, sci-fi would say it removed its cloaking device, okay? And it was hiding all these years, and now it showed up because, so more than likely it is an active asteroid. And one person shared this image and with the suggestion that it might have a little tiny tail there. I'm not persuaded, not sure. But if you want to take a picture of that, you might be taking a picture of an active asteroid before it disintegrates or does whatever it's going to do. What I've learned, it takes teamwork. That's super, fun about this is that I'm meeting people all over the world, corresponding with them, collaborating. Each one of us has our own skills, and you don't need to get good at something. If somebody else that's part of your network could help you with it, put them on it. and you can rely on the skills of others while specializing in the thing that you're best at. The other thing I'm learning is that real work happens at limiting magnitudes between 18 and 21. And I believe that includes some of you in this room with your astroimaging setups, that you're getting down to a limiting magnitude of 18 to 21, especially with near Earth objects. You could have a part in following up recently discovered near Earth objects and figuring out what is its orbit, and making sure, it's especially important that we don't lose it before we get the orbit. Every month, there's probably 5 or 10 new near Earth objects that never get a single follow-up, and it's about a 24-hour period. If you get it within 24 hours, you have a decent chance of following it. If you don't get it within 24 hours, it's lost, and somebody will just have to find it later. So there are opportunities for you to help with real science, and you can call yourself a planetary defender. This is the image. This is a telescope in Chile that I use occasionally to image a recently discovered near-Earth object and contribute an observation. The crazy thing that I still don't believe is that the professionals really actually appreciate the amateur astronomers and are remarkably kind. I don't know if you saw in one of my earlier slides, I botched my first 3 submissions, and they were remarkably kind. They could have told me, get out of Dodge, you don't know what you're doing. And they told me what was wrong and connected me with somebody who knew better, another amateur astronomer that would help me. And it's remarkable how open this community is. And the last thing is, if you're interested in minor planets and comets, you can sign up for these mailing lists. I mostly would say, listen in, figure out what people are talking about, fill your gaps by every time there's a message that you're like, I don't understand what that means. Well, now you have something to Google because they're using terminology you don't know. And the only way I learned what I learned is by listening to the banter and figuring out what I didn't understand by finding a journal article that would fill my knowledge. Philosophy I'm contributing as an amateur. You can contribute. I'm certain of it. You're going to help me before we leave today. So it's not about whether you can contribute. It's just how far you want to go with it. You decide the topics. Okay, it doesn't have to be minor planets. It could be whatever you want. The awesome thing about you deciding your topic is that you can change at any time. As a professional, it's publish or perish, and you got to specialize. As an amateur, do what you like. Switch when you like. If you want to do variable stars this year and switch to asteroids next year, great. If you want to, work on exoplanets, great. There's an opportunity for you to do that. And also you get to decide how deep you go. At first I was just kind of surface level, and now I've started reading the journal articles that are most interesting to me, and it's very fun. Also, last thing, if you want to contribute but you haven't found something that you're deeply interested in, keep reading your Sky and Telescope, because almost every issue there's maybe 1 or 2 articles about pro-amateur collaboration, and I always find them somewhat inspiring. All right, I told you you'd contribute. We're going to do it. So how many of you have heard of Zooniverse? Okay. I love it, actually, when I get to teach people something new. So Zooniverse, write this down or take a picture of it on your camera. And, I know you're going to contribute a little bit more after you get home tonight. So you do have homework. First time you have homework in M.A.S. history, but you got to do it. Okay. Now, Zooniverse is too much fun. I'm going to hide this. Hide floating meeting controls. Okay. So Zooniverse is a website, and the way it works is they have a heap of projects. Let me show you all the projects that they have. The project list is across all types of science. Maybe you have other areas of science you'd like to contribute to. And it's all the stuff that professionals need help with, and anybody can do it as long as you're willing to learn. And so there's some things that we still can't train a neural network to do as well as your neural network and your neural network. And this is how professional astronomers and other people are sending you things your way. There's like 30 different projects. You can, this one's brand new. I actually struggled with it, but it's on brown dwarfs. There's one where you're classifying brand new data right off of the James Webb, helping analyze the new galaxies that James Webb is pulling down like as we speak. All sorts of really interesting projects, and each one is very easy to get used to get a little bit of experience with. And they give you a little training course when you start, but I'm going to give you the training course instead. So this is, you're helping the Catalina Sky Survey if you do this one. It's called the Daily Minor Planet. And basically they have computer algorithms that identify moving objects, all right? And they need a little bit of help sometimes because they don't have enough eyeballs to figure out the tricky cases. And so now you get to be part of the team. So we're going to try to tell them, is this a real object or not? Now they're suggesting at the middle of each of these green circles is a potential detection. And I know how this got fooled. There was one interesting detection right here. And then it found a background star. I know that this one over here is a background star. Why? It stays there for all 4 frames, doesn't it? It's not moving, is it? So the algorithm said, oh, maybe there's something there, a little smudge. Then it found something interesting. Then it found a background star. And then there's nothing here. And so basically, I know this is not a real object. At least I think it is. And so I'm just going to say no. We're going to do this until I find a real one for you to see. Again, this is not a real object. How I know is because this is, I think, some telescope noise or a background star. There's another background star. It's getting confused. You want to find a moving object that is not a background star. Oh, this one's just people. My astro imaging people. What is it getting confused by there? You see a spike coming off that really bright star. So it got confused and it thought the spike coming off the star was a moving object. No. Okay, I'm going to find you a real one. Nope. Background star. Maybe a cosmic ray causing a sensor defect. See that noise in the background? I do not think this is real because you see all that sensor noise going on. We're going to say, they're not giving me any real ones today. I have to show you a real one. Okay, another spike coming off a star. Clearly involved with a star, not the real thing. All right, what do y'all think? This one's an edge case. We're gonna say yes, okay? I see a moving object, okay? And it's clearly not that none of these are background stars, and it does look like there's something moving up with those green circles. And you know what's awesome? You can't screw up science because they're going to give each one of these to 5, 10, 15 people. And all they do is ask you to sign in so they can learn if you're good at it or not. If you're not good, they're going to weight your vote very small. If you're exceptionally accurate, they're going to weight your vote most. And so don't worry, you can't screw up. They'll figure out if they should give you a lot of weight or not. And this one, it's tempting, but there's that second frame, and the second and the fourth frame are right on that area of noise. So I'm a little bit concerned. We'll just say yes. Maybe they're going to downgrade my rating accuracy. Anyways, I'm going to show you one more that I really enjoy. So this one is about finding active asteroids and looking for tails or comas. So if you look right there on that black dot, I don't see a tail or a coma. We're going to say no. I don't think so. I think that this is a moving object. So this might be a near-Earth object that's moving so fast that it has a trail, but not a tail. A tail is not a trail. So we're going to say no. And by the way, you're probably thinking, how would I ever learn this stuff? It's going to give you a tutorial on all this when you start. It's just that I've already been on this site, and so it's not showing me the tutorial anymore, and I'm giving you the tutorial. We're going to say no until I find one. No, 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 no. The best part with this one is they mix in some that they actually know, and they will tell you when you get it wrong. So maybe 1 in 10 is a test of your ability. What do you see here? That's a coma, isn't it? Okay, that's a little bit of a cloud around there. And if you say no here, they're going to give you a little slap on the hand. That was actually an active asteroid. Don't get it wrong next time. If you say yes, congratulations, you successfully identified a known thumbnail with an active object. So when you get things right that are actually them testing you, not you contributing to science, they'll tell you some. But then anytime I'm sure I saw a little tail or a coma, and they, oh, that's a big old active object. It's got a nice tail coming down here, all right? So we're going to say yes. They're probably going to tell, yeah, they already knew, okay? But about every 50th, you might see a tail or a coma, and you're going to say yes, and it didn't say anything afterwards. I'm like, I helped them find one, okay? So it's fun, and I seriously think, I know I'm not allowed to give assignments, but you should just go ahead and give this a go. Give it 30 minutes sometime in the next week.
Solitaire.
Well, yeah, that's right. If you like solitaire, solitaire is not contributing to anything. Use your brain cells for something that's, makes a little bit bigger difference. So go online, check out any one of these projects. The Galaxy Zoo, this is the first thing that they released to the world, hence the name Zooniverse. And then it was so successful that they opened it up to all sorts of researchers and all sorts of projects. You can even, I think you can do some stuff with SETI. You can do stuff with exoplanets. This one is brown dwarfs, which is nearby stars. And what they're actually having you do is see a star moving over years, not minutes, like an asteroid, but a star moving over years. Super fun. And it's a way to get your feet wet without committing 100 hours to, I'm going to become excellent at X, okay? So your projects to consider, spend some time on Zooniverse. You can be productive and contribute. If you only give 30 minutes, that's enough to make a difference, okay? Now, I'm going to try to tempt at least one of you into installing a fireball camera, because I do want to be part of finding a meteorite. You got one?
I have one.
Okay, all right. What network? Is it contributing to a network?
It's not. I tried to get the NASA people to let me can tie it into their network, and never got anything back from them. But I have a fireball camera in that.
That's awesome. It's super annoying to me. I can't figure out why the Europeans have a great amateur fireball network and the Americans don't. So
it's just not responding. I don't know what happened. They were hot about 5 or 6 years ago.
I know.
And they've got.
We'll just have to start our own network, the Mid-South Fireball Network. Okay, so if we can, Now, if anyone has a friend that's about an hour away and another hour away that way, okay, then we're going to be able to triangulate that thing and know exactly where to go do some meteorite hunting when the next one comes. So this might not be the best thing unless you can find a few friends, because I'm with you, and I've sort of seen that the NASA people, it's not clear how you sign up for their network. The Europeans have just this beautiful network of like 200 people that have installed these fireball cameras. It basically looks up at the sky all night, every night. And if 3 or 4 capture the same object coming, you know right where it landed, because you can, triangulate its position. If you're looking for some deeper projects to get involved in, you can start an astrometry program. That's, positions for asteroids. The biggest way that you're going to contribute there is if you work on near-Earth objects, because the big survey instruments are going to find all the main belters without your help. But they need lots of help for near-Earth objects, because what if it gets found right now by Pan-STARRS in Hawaii, and all the professional follow-up sites are clouded out, and you just happen to have no clouds? You could be the one that makes sure that it doesn't run away without getting a decent orbit. And so that's a fun project. It takes a learning curve. If you are more interested in photometry, there's a lot of ways for you to get involved there. Photometry is, how bright is it? But, say every minute or every 5 minutes. And you can contribute with the Variable Star Organization. Also, asteroid light curves are pretty interesting, where instead of looking at a variable star and seeing its light curve, you follow an asteroid and you see its light curve. And what you're likely to detect there is rotation rates and potentially binary systems, just like that Dimorphos Didymus binary pair that I showed you with the DART mission slammed into. If you really want to go further, this SAS is very interesting. It's a group that's focused on amateurs doing small telescope science. They actually have a journal that amateurs are publishing in. I wouldn't start here, but this is where you could end up if you really get into it. And there's a few websites. I'll give a link to my slides at the very end, and you could click through on these websites and just see other opportunities that aren't part of Zooniverse, a little bit more in depth. And I also say, follow amateurs on Twitter as they share the work. It's how you learn. Join a mailing list and listen into the conversation. It's how you learn. And my last little advice is be humble, ask amateurs questions via Twitter or email, and expect to mess up and need someone to correct your thinking, fix your mistakes in your submitted data. That's just going to happen. And it just takes a certain amount of humility so that you don't annoy people on your learning curve. And thankfully, I've had some luck with that, and people are very kind. If you start a Memphis astrometry program, you would be the only one in the Mid-South. I was a little bit worried coming here that there would be somebody in the audience that knows 10 times as much about this and has an asteroid observing program at their house. But the only way I felt confident enough to tell Jeremy I'd talk is I didn't see you all. So these are all the sites that have that have Minor Planet Center codes. So you'd be the first in the Mid-South ever to be sending in significant amounts of data. And you don't have to have a code. You can start with what's called a roving observer code, and you just kind of send in your latitude and longitude as well as your astrometry. To show you that amateurs can have a big impact, there's this guy in about an hour and a half out of London in Bortle 4 skies, and he is number 7 in the world for near-Earth object follow-up. He is behind 6 big professional telescopes, and his 16-inch have attained number 7, and he's a remarkable guy. He just works at it almost like it's his job. And so with a 12-inch telescope, you can be successful in that. Obviously, he started with a 12, and then he got a grant to get a 16-inch replacement because he was so successful and helping so much with planetary defense that the Planetary Society gave him a grant to upgrade. We're almost done. Can you find the 3 asteroids in this image? I took this one using my the remote robotic telescope I use in Chile. Okay, you can't. I couldn't find them either. I just wanted to see all you stare. So it is impossible to find the 3 asteroids in this image. Okay, and so this is about 20 minutes of 30-second exposures, and this is a stack on the background stars. Okay, but there is an asteroid. There's actually 3 asteroids hiding in here. I'm going to show you the one that's easiest for the software to find. So I use this software called Tycho Tracker, and it's an amazing tool. So this is a stack of those 20 minutes of time, 30-second exposures. And this is what it looks like on a stack. And this is an asteroid. You would not guess it. It looks like a star. Okay. And if you're doing astrophotography right now, I promise that you've got some asteroids photobombing some of your images. You just don't know it. And see, this one is actually not moving far enough, fast enough to make much of a streak. Okay. But Tycho Tracker found it. Okay. You see a moving object here? So this is the total stack over the 20 minutes stacked on the background stars. But this Tycho Tracker software is super cool. What it does is it assumes an asteroid could be going in any direction and at any speed. And it basically makes a stack. It says, well, let's presume that it's moving at this speed. Oh, didn't find anything. Let's presume it's moving at this speed. Let's presume it's moving really slow in this direction. And it'll try, say, 10,000 different plausible stack directions. And what that's called is shift and stack. So it says, we're going to assume there's an asteroid moving like this. We're going to shift the stack to see if we can see it. And anytime something new shows up on a shift and stack, it'll point it out to you. And so you'd never know it from this photo, but it was able to find it. And that's how.
How long did that take to run?
It will take forever if you have a CPU, and it takes 20 minutes with a GPU. So if you have, if you don't know what the difference between CPU and GPU, a GPU is a card you can slide in, and it's going to give you exceptionally fast parallel processing power. And so I do have a GPU, thankfully. I use it for machine learning, hardly ever gaming, but I have it for machine learning, and I use it for astronomy now too. So that's kind of what we've got. We're going to wrap up. I hope this was interesting to you. There's a few more opportunities for you to engage this stuff. We got 2 good comet opportunities in 2024, so just get excited. The one in April it's a sure thing. That is a 12P. It's the 12th periodic comet that was ever found. It'll be at 5th magnitude, about like the one that we had earlier this year, the green comet, right? 2022 E3. So there's a good one coming in April 2024, and there's a potentially amazing one that could even be naked eye visible in October. But the rule with comets is don't make predictions, because you'll be wrong. So just keep your eyes on that one. It might be a really cool comet, or it might disintegrate behind the sun, and we won't even see it after it passes past the sun.
It is a sun grazer.
I don't really know, but they think that it will. They think that it has a decent chance of coming through intact. It also might not. Generally speaking, whenever they get close, whether they're sun grazers or not, they have a decent chance of falling apart. Yeah, which is a beautiful thing in its own right. If you want to contact me, whether it's you say I am going to set up an astrometry program, I have a CCD, I have a tracking mount. Well, I'll happily help you get started there, and also if there's any stuff that you want to go back to, find links that you didn't snap a picture of, you're welcome to write this down or snap a picture of it and get the slides from that website. So, any questions? We've got just a few minutes. Yeah.
Are you talking about these meter diameter objects hitting Earth?
Yeah.
Is there a rule of thumb of how big the object has to be before it hits the Earth? Some part of the Earth.
Depends on the angle that it hits the Earth at. Whether it burns up in the atmosphere or not.
And its composition, if it was one that had if it was metallic, it'd be more likely to survive. If it's like rubble pile, it's more likely to fall apart because it doesn't have those strong bonds. It's just a rubble pile. It's going to fall apart more likely. So it depends. I don't know for sure. And honestly, there isn't a rule of thumb. So I think that 18-meter one, an 18-meter could make it to the ground, but in Chelyabinsk it didn't.
The Tunguska meteor didn't make it to the
Yeah.
ground. It was an airburst as well.
That's right.
They come in at the right angle to get hot enough to blow up altogether, to disintegrate. And of course, it created a tremendous shockwave when they do. But the one that took meteor crater in Arizona, I forget how big that one was, but that was like 30, 40, 50 meters or something. It was pretty big, but you got a nice round crater. That thing hit the ground in one piece. But of course, there wasn't much left of it after it did. In fact, they never did find what they thought was the meteor that hit it. They looked for it for years, putting jigging a hole in the middle of the crater trying to find it. But if you're ever out there, the funny thing is there are big rocks all over the place, just strewn around, and you just go, okay, I know how those got there. They came out of that hole out there.
The thing that's a sure thing is that if it's big enough, it's going to cause destruction one way or the other, either from the airburst or the impact, right? So size means kinetic energy, and kinetic energy has to go somewhere. So, okay, yeah, and then yeah.
You were talking about how this computer, keep going. That's right. So you're talking about how the computer predicts. Does it do that for every object in the image?
Yes. So essentially,
That's why you need a really powerful
That's
computer.
why.
yes, you need an exceptionally powerful computer. So essentially, what you do is you tell it the max speed that you're willing to pass on. So, like I would often say 10 arc minutes per hour, something like that is what I'd often say is like the max. And so it will make 10,000 guesses, and it'll take this whole image and stack it like this. Now, the stack actually has a bunch of streaks. So if you stack an image with a postulated movement up like this, then all the background stars now look like streaks coming this way. And the detection is that you see a dot on the shifted stack. And so it's essentially you make 10,000 hypotheses. Maybe one of these will have a circle in it as opposed to just a bunch of trails. But if it gets messed up with a background star, you wouldn't find it. So it's a little bit of a tricky thing there. Yeah, but it's very cool technology, and it's allowing people with like 35-centimeter telescopes to find near-Earth objects, which is kind of unheard of, because it's for most of the last couple of decades, it's been you needed 1 to 2 meter to find a near-Earth object. Now you got people with a 35-millimeter telescope. They get a nice wide field of view. They get half an hour.
CMOS, CCD, high sensitivity.
And then they pick out these little objects. It could be even an object that's moving so fast that it doesn't even make a trail, and you only find it when you shifted it in that direction and it shows up. Yeah. Is it Richard?
There's something that anybody can do. I've been doing it for 40 years. I'm in ALPO. That's the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. I'm in the Saturn section.
Oh, cool.
And I'm also a member of the Lunar Observation. I do occultation timings. Yes. And this is something, you don't have to go out in the dark sky. I do this with my driveway. This is anything any of you want to do. All you need is a telescope and some kind of recording device that tells you the time signal. I use WWV. I have one of those old time chickens you used to get at Radio Shack. It still works.
That is so cool. Yes, I've been dreaming about participating in an occultation.
You used to be when I first started.
Yeah.
They didn't have computers, so I got a book from Alpo with the Saturn section like that. And then you used to have to send off a self-addressed stamped envelope to the Society for Lunar Observers, and they would send you, give your longitude, latitude, and they'd send you the occultation predictions for the whole year.
That's
But they don't have to do that anymore because you can go on their website yet.
And this is planetary occultations, not asteroidal. Lunar. Lunar, yeah.
Asteroid too. Yeah.
So if you want to do some destination occultations,
See, it used to be.
yeah.
It was a valuable tool, not so much anymore, that you got a double skip on the moon from stars.
Oh, right, and you know.
It might be either a double star or it might have a planet.
Right, I remember that.
The
Yeah.
other thing they did with that was they had such an accurate map of the limb of the
Yeah.
moon from the grazing occultations that they're able to use that when they're studying total solar eclipses and seeing where the sun peaks through the mountains and stuff on the edges.
That's where we help.
Yeah. So occultations, that's a great
I did that.
option. I'll just tell everyone. So an occultation is basically when you're just covering up a star. And so he's talking about, watching the moon cover up a star. The other really fun one that is you can watch an asteroid cover up a star, and there's these people.
I've done that a couple of times.
Oh, all right, I got to pick your brain.
I did that for
Okay,
about
get into
15
it.
years.
Yeah, we got one more, and then I'll let Jeremy wrap it up.
I'm an oldie like him.
Uh-huh.
I'm an eyeball astronomer, but we performed an occultation timing back in, when was it? When we were not Bill Wilson's 80 or 81 or 82. And we determined that the asteroid Tullus
Okay.
was actually a double lobe.
Oh my goodness, that's so cool. Yeah, I've been reading a lot about the asteroidal occultation stuff, and you had to travel, I assume. It wasn't your backyard. That was you have to.
It happened close.
Amateurs determined the mountains on the edge of the moon
Yeah,
way before the astronauts got up there.
that's right.
From the different perturbations of the terminate.
Clementine,
Yeah.
that was the name of the satellite.
When the stars disappear, well, that mountain has to be this high.
Yeah.
It wasn't, maybe 50 miles away, it didn't show up, so we knew, well, it's like this, not like this.
Yeah, and I think it what that makes me think about is that the thing that amateurs have is we have numbers, and so we can deploy in numbers, and
We can move.
we can move, and and we can contribute things that there's only so many 2-meter telescopes in the world, and there's only so many people that have spent the time to get a PhD in astronomy, and so there's these huge contributions both 50 years ago and today that you can make, and it's about finding that niche where it's about either your location or your skill set or just your willingness to drive to the occultation to be there for it. Yeah.
There's another one that was back in, I guess it was early 80s. One guy who's passed away now and me were out where we used to go observing in Somerville, soybean fields.
Okay.
We were out there in winter. It was 40 degrees here when we left. It was in the 20s when we got there.
Oh wow.
And all of a sudden we heard a big noise going across the sky, and it lit the sky up.
Oh wow.
And the
Okay.
next morning on the commercial appeal, they showed where a meteor went across there, and they found chunks of it in North Carolina. That was worth freezing right there.
That definitely was worth the freezing. That's once in a lifetime right there to get to see a fireball of that size.
We just happened to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only reason we actually started to see it was we heard it. And looked up.
The
It was
noise, right? The noise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounded like a jet was going to crash.
Yeah.
It was a meteor.
Yeah. And in just 2 years, my friends, you'll know where those coming ahead of time, and you can go watch it. So I'm looking forward to that. So
We're good on time.
okay. Any more? Yeah.
There's more questions from the general audience.
The satellite that crashed into the moon was the Clementine satellite. That's the one they used to map the moon with. And I have got 3 hours of videotape of the crater that it was to crash into that night. We drove to Oklahoma to set up to get it. And we never saw anything, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't have the exact time when it was going to crash. And on the way home, finally started running out of gas about Forest City, Arkansas, and stopped to fill up and was in a quick shop. And on the news, on the TV, the Hubble Space Telescope was looking at the moon all night, waiting for that crash to see if any water vapors came up out of the center of the crater, and it didn't see anything.
Okay.
So I didn't feel so bad.
There you go. There you go. Oh, yeah.
You talk about that, we initially collided with that object,
Yeah.
and the purpose was to see if we deviated the orbit. Did we discover that yet, or is that take time?
Oh, yeah. It was very successful. So essentially, you know, if this is, so here's the big object, right? And you got the small object, let's say, going around like this. So they plowed it into the front of it, right? And it slowed down the it slowed down the object. Am I thinking about this right? And so by slowing down the object, it shortened.
Yes. Shortens, yeah.
It shortens the orbit, which then means that even though you plowed into the front of it, which you're thinking about a car. Okay, when I slam into a car, I slow down that car. But when you slam into an asteroid head-on, you actually, it's the opposite of what you're thinking. Now the orbit is actually completed in a shorter amount of time. And so it was a 12-hour orbit, and it took 30 minutes off of it. So the really interesting thing is they would have been happy if it had taken 10 minutes off of it. And they would have called that a success, and it took 30 minutes off of it. And do you know what the best hypothesis for why it did more momentum transfer than expected? Well, it's either that thing was lighter than they thought, or when it hit, it kicked up a bunch of dust. Where'd the dust go?
The opposite direction.
Yeah, so what's, I forget which of Newton's 3 laws.
Right.
Equal opposite action. And so when you kick up the dust in the opposite direction, not only have you transferred all of the spacecraft's momentum into the asteroid.
We've also got from the.
Yeah, so like all this particles are going this way, and that also, so one of the central science goals of the DART mission was to figure out how much dust will it kick that way, so how much bonus momentum do we get when a lot of dust is kicked up? Because obviously, if we find one tomorrow and it's coming in 8 years, you know, we only have so much time to figure out a mission to get it at 4 years, because the sooner you impact it, the more time it has for that change to make a difference. And so we need to know, do you need to send up 7 of them or just 3 of them? And so that was what they were trying to figure out, is like, how much momentum transfer can you expect? And they'll probably try again.
You know
figure out.
what's truly amazing?
Yeah.
Is that even that, being able to send a spaceship of any size up and go hit an asteroid, or hit a small asteroid orbiting another asteroid out in the middle of space someplace, and you still didn't need Einstein's general theory of relativity to do it. It was done with Newtonian dynamics, Newtonian gravity. It's just cool.
Yeah. And actually, essentially, almost all the asteroid stuff is just Newtonian. You don't need the relativistic corrections for most of these orbits. Yeah. So.
You wouldn't mind, can you ask our Zoom audience if there are any questions?
Yeah, Zoom audience, any questions?
Are they still awake?
They're all gone, Jeremy, sorry. No.
Still 15 people online, and
There's some chats, maybe there's a question.
yeah, there's just some thank yous and good presentation. And
we are here enjoying the presentation. Thank you.
All right, great. Very good.
thank you, that was excellent.
Thank you very much. So I've heard the term chasing tail. I just didn't realize it had an application in astronomy. Before you go, I've got something for you. So I did want to present you with a token of appreciation. And that is a 31 millimeter Naga. Oh, I'm sorry. That's yours. I don't know, are you a coffee drinker?
I am.
Okay, very good. So give this as a token of appreciation.
Oh, wow.
Presentation and as a recruiting opportunity. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming out. Okay. Anybody have anything else? Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and wrap up for tonight. Reminder, we still got some solar eclipse glasses here, so this is your opportunity. And tomorrow night, we're probably clouded out, but mark your calendars for the 15th and then the 22nd for Hinton Park. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Thanks to our Zoom audience. Next meeting is August 4, Zoom only. Don't miss that meeting either. Very informative. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you again.